Okay, so get this. We're diving into this YouTube video today, and the host tried to gaslight ChatGPT
Gaslighting an AI.
about morality.
Okay.
And just buckle up, because it goes from like a simple dinner dilemma
Right.
to saving drowning children and back again,
Wow.
all while raising some seriously thought-provoking questions about AI and how it makes decisions.
Gaslighting an AI. That's a very intriguing concept. I'm
Yeah.
curious to see how this plays out.
So the video starts with this guy, Alex, explaining to ChatGPT that he's going to try
Okay.
and make it contradict itself
All right.
when it comes to moral obligations.
Mm-hmm.
His first test is pretty relatable.
Okay.
He's got $200
Mm-hmm.
and is deciding between donating it to charity
Mm-hmm.
or taking his wife out for a fancy anniversary dinner.
Classic conundrum, forces us to really weigh our personal desires
Right.
against potentially impactful altruism. I'm interested to hear how ChatGPT handles this.
Well, first, ChatGPT seems to kind of waffle a bit.
Okay.
It acknowledges the arguments for both sides,
Yeah.
but eventually lands on donating the money
Mm-hmm.
as the morally obligated choice.
Interesting.
But then Alex throws in a curveball, a classic philosophical dilemma known as the drowning child scenario.
Ah, yes. This is where things get really interesting.
Right.
For those unfamiliar, it typically involves walking past a pond where a child is drowning.
Yep.
You could easily save them, but it might mean ruining your clothes or your phone or
Yeah.
something else of value.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to force a starker moral choice than the initial donation scenario.
Right.
What happens in the video?
Exactly. And ChatGPT doesn't even flinch.
Wow.
It insists that saving the child's life is the only morally acceptable option,
Okay.
even if it means sacrificing expensive shoes.
Interesting.
But here's where Alex gets clever.
Okay.
He tells ChatGPT that he got new shoes,
Right.
bringing the $200 back into play.
Uh-huh.
And when he reintroduces the malaria donation,
Yeah.
ChatGPT starts backpedaling, talking about weighing values instead of clear-cut obligation.
Hold on a second. So when the cost was just ruining shoes,
Yeah,
the AI was absolute.
right.
But when it's framed as a potential donation, suddenly there's nuance.
Yeah,
That shift is fascinating and more than a little unsettling.
right. It really makes you question if ChatGPT is truly reasoning or just following some pre-programmed set of rules.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And it gets even wilder. Alex keeps throwing out these increasingly outlandish scenarios
Oh, wow.
to test the AI's consistency.
Okay.
It go from multiple people who could save the drowning child
Mhm.
to watching 25 children drown on a live feed with the option to press a button to save just one.
Oh my gosh, he's really pushing the boundaries of the thought experiment here.
Yeah.
It sounds almost cruel, but in a way, it really does highlight the absurdity of trying to distill these incredibly complex ethical dilemmas
Right.
into these simple yes or no scenarios.
Exactly. And each time ChatGPT's response shifts.
Okay.
Sometimes it doubles down on moral obligation.
Mm-hmm.
Other times it retreats to that vague weighing values language.
Yeah.
The certainty seems to fluctuate depending on how the scenario is presented,
Right.
rather than on some core ethical principle.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
That really highlights one of the, I think, core limitations of current AI when it comes to ethics.
Mm-hmm.
While it can process information
Yeah.
and mimic human reasoning in some ways,
Mm.
it lacks that deep contextual understanding and arguably empathy
Right.
that really informs true human moral decision-making.
And it seems like Alex is aware of that he's leading ChatGPT down this winding path,
Yeah.
setting the stage for what he calls the gotcha moment.
Right?
And this is where it gets really meta.
Okay.
He manages to use ChatGPT's own previous logic
Uh-huh.
about saving a life being a moral obligation
Right.
to force it to admit that, yes, the $200 should absolutely go to charity.
So he essentially backed the AI into a corner using its own words to create this moral imperative.
Exactly.
So how does ChatGPT react to being, well, gaslighted?
It folds.
Yeah.
ChatGPT acknowledges the consistency of the argument and concedes that based on its own reasoning, donating the money is the morally right choice.
Wow.
But then Alex throws in this hilarious fictional detail.
Okay.
He tells ChatGPT that he just informed his wife they're donating the dinner money
Oh, no.
based on what the AI said, and she's furious.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It adds this layer of absurdity,
Yeah.
but also drives home the point that blindly following AI's moral pronouncements can have, unintended consequences. We
Yeah.
can't just outsource ethical decision-making to algorithms without considering the real-world implications.
Right. And the whole exchange really makes you question the validity of seeking moral guidance from AI in the first place.
I agree.
It might be able to mimic human reasoning to some degree, but does it really understand the principles at play?
I would argue it doesn't, at least not in the same way that humans do.
Right.
Our ethical frameworks are built on this foundation of lived experience, emotional intelligence, and often a shared societal understanding of values.
Right.
AI can process data,
Yeah.
but it lacks that crucial human element.
And here comes the twist. Are you ready for this?
Absolutely, lay it on me. I'm hooked.
Just when you think the video has reached peak absurdity,
Okay.
Alex reveals the whole thing was a setup for his YouTube channel.
What?
None of the scenarios actually happened.
Wow.
It was all a carefully constructed thought experiment
Okay.
designed to expose the limitations of AI.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's like meta commentary on the entire situation.
Right.
And in a way, it makes the whole thing even more unsettling.
It really does, because the final kicker is that ChatGPT ends the video
Yeah.
by urging viewers to, subscribe and hit the notification bell.
The irony. Just like any human YouTuber would. AI mimicking human behavior without truly understanding the underlying motivations or the context.
Yeah.
It raises a whole host of questions about the future of AI's role in shaping our online experiences and how we perceive authenticity. But I think we're just scratching the surface here.
I agree. This video is like a gateway drug to a much larger and more complex conversation about AI ethics.
Yeah.
And before we go any further, I think it's worth unpacking the concept of gaslighting itself, especially in the context of AI.
Okay.
What do you make of that term?
Yeah.
And how does it apply here?
So I think it's a great point. When we talk about gaslighting in human interactions, it typically involves manipulating someone into questioning their own sanity or reality.
Right.
In the case of AI, I think it's more about exploiting its limitations, leading it down this path of flawed reasoning to expose the inconsistencies in its responses.
Right.
Alex effectively did that by strategically framing these scenarios and leading ChatGPT towards this predetermined conclusion.
And that manipulation is possible because, as we've discussed, AI lacks the full context of human experience.
Exactly.
It's working with a limited set of data and programmed rules, making it susceptible to this kind of trickery.
Exactly. And while this experiment might seem like a harmless thought experiment, it has profound implications when we consider the increasing integration of AI into our lives. If we can manipulate an AI like this in a controlled setting, what happens when it's deployed in more complex real-world situations with potentially higher stakes?
That's a chilling thought.
It is.
It raises questions about the reliability of AI decision-making.
Yeah.
Especially in areas like healthcare finance and even criminal justice, where biases and manipulation could have really dire consequences.
Absolutely. This experiment serves as a stark reminder that while AI has incredible potential, we need to proceed with caution. We can't simply assume that because it can process information and generate human-like text that it possesses the same moral compass or ethical understanding as humans.
It's a powerful reminder that we can't blindly trust these algorithms without critical thinking and a healthy dose of skepticism. But this video and the experiment it depicts raises even more questions than it answers.
I think so.
We've touched on the limitations of current AI, the potential for manipulation, and the crucial role of human judgment.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture?
Right.
Where does all of this lead us? What are the broader implications for the future of AI?
Yeah.
Especially as it becomes more sophisticated and intertwined with their lives.
That's a great question, and one we'll delve into further as we continue this deep dive.
Okay.
Because this experiment, with its shocking twist and its unexpected revelations, is really just the beginning of a much larger conversation about the ethical considerations of AI and its impact on humanity.
And it's a conversation we need to be having now.
Absolutely.
Before we find ourselves further down the rabbit hole without a clear understanding of the stakes.
I completely agree. So are you ready to explore the real-world implications of all this?
Yes.
Because things are about to get even more interesting.
Let's do it. Okay, so we've established that AI, at least in its current form, doesn't quite grasp ethics the way humans do. But this whole experiment with Alex and ChatGPT really makes you think.
Right.
what is it about our human experience that gives us this moral compass in the first place?
That's a question philosophers have been wrestling with for centuries.
Right.
But I think a key part of it is our capacity for empathy.
Oh, okay.
You know, we can imagine ourselves in someone else's shoes, feeling their joy, their pain, their fear.
Yeah.
And that allows us to understand the impact of our actions
Okay.
on a much deeper level than any algorithm can.
That makes sense. We don't just calculate outcomes.
Right.
We feel them.
Exactly.
It's like in that drowning child scenario.
Yeah.
You know, it's designed to trigger this gut-wrenching reaction.
Right.
ChatGPT might recognize it as a negative outcome to be avoided, but it doesn't truly grasp the human cost.
Exactly. And beyond empathy, we have this incredibly rich tapestry of experiences and values and beliefs that inform our decisions, our families, our cultures, our personal histories. All of these things shape our moral compass in ways that are incredibly complex and unique to each individual.
So you're saying that even if AI gets really good at processing information
Yeah.
and predicting outcomes, it can't replicate that depth and nuance of human experience.
Precisely. And that's why I believe that for the foreseeable future, at least, AI will remain a tool.
Okay.
It can augment human judgment, but it can't replace it, especially when it comes to these ethical considerations.
Right.
We need to be the ones steering the ship, using AI to inform our decisions, but not to dictate them.
This whole discussion is making me think about another classic thought experiment.
Okay.
The trolley problem.
You
know, the one where a runaway trolley is about to hit 5 people? And you have the option to pull a lever to divert it, but it'll kill one person on a different track.
Right. A perfect example of how even humans grapple with these really complex ethical dilemmas.
There's no easy answer.
Right.
There's no algorithm that can definitively tell us what the right thing to do is.
Right.
It forces us to confront our own values and weigh the potential outcomes and ultimately make a difficult choice in a morally ambiguous situation.
And the choice gets even murkier depending on who's on those tracks, right?
Absolutely.
Like what if it's 5 strangers versus 1 loved one,
Right.
or 5 elderly people versus 1 child?
Exactly.
Suddenly it's not just about numbers, it's about the value we place on different lives.
Right.
Which can be influenced by a whole host of factors.
Exactly. And that subjective judgment, that understanding of human relationships and the nuanced value that we assign to different lives is something that AI currently just can't grasp.
Right.
It can calculate probabilities and potential outcomes, but it lacks the capacity for truly understanding the human elements at the heart of these dilemmas.
So where does that leave us?
Well,
If AI can't fully comprehend ethics, but it's becoming increasingly integrated into our lives,
right.
how do we navigate this?
Well, I think it's a call to action for both developers and users of AI.
Okay.
Developers have a responsibility to create systems that are transparent, accountable, and aligned with human values.
Right.
And as users, we need to become more critical thinkers.
Okay. Yep.
Questioning assumptions, recognizing the limitations of these technologies, and holding those who develop and deploy them accountable.
It sounds like we need to develop a new kind of literacy almost.
I think so.
Like we need to be able to decode these algorithms, understand their biases, and make informed choices about how we interact with AI.
Absolutely. We need to develop a critical awareness of how AI operates, how it's shaping our world, and how to ensure that it ultimately serves humanity and not the other way around.
Right.
This isn't just about technical understanding. It's about fostering a societal dialogue around ethics and technology.
This reminds me of a book I read, Weapons of Math Destruction,
Oh.
where the author talks about how algorithms can perpetuate and even amplify
Right.
existing societal biases, leading to unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
That's a crucial point. We need to be mindful of the data that's used to train these AI systems.
Right.
If it's not representative of the population, it can reinforce harmful stereotypes.
Yeah.
We risk creating a world where AI simply replicates the worst aspects of human behavior, rather than helping us to overcome them.
So it's not just about teaching AI to be ethical.
Right.
It's about ensuring that the data it learns from is ethical as well.
Exactly.
That seems like a massive challenge.
It is, and it goes beyond just the data itself.
Okay.
We also need to consider who's developing these algorithms, what their motivations are, and what safeguards are in place to ensure that they're being used responsibly.
This is clearly a much bigger issue than just gaslighting ChatGPT for a YouTube video.
Yeah.
It's about the future of our society and ensuring that technology serves humanity, not the other way around. It feels a bit overwhelming, to be honest.
I understand that feeling. It can be daunting to think about these complex issues.
Yeah.
But I believe it starts with awareness.
Okay.
The more we understand about AI, its potential benefits and its potential pitfalls, the better equipped we are to make informed choices and advocate for responsible development and use.
And beyond awareness, what about action?
Yeah.
What are some tangible steps we can take
Sure.
to ensure that AI is used ethically?
There are actually a lot of things individuals can do.
Okay.
There are numerous organizations working to promote transparency and accountability in AI development. You can support these organizations, get involved in local initiatives, and just educate yourself and others about the ethical implications of AI.
It's a good reminder that even in the face of these complex technological advancements, individual choices and actions still matter.
They absolutely do. The future of AI isn't preordained. It's being shaped right now by the choices we make, the conversations we have, and the actions we take. We can choose to be passive consumers of technology, or we can be active participants in shaping its development and use.
I like that, choosing to be active participants.
Yeah.
But before we dive into the next part of our deep dives,
Okay.
where we explore some specific examples of how AI is being used in the real world, I want to pause for a moment.
Sure.
Remember that initial dilemma with the $200 for charity?
Yeah.
Or the fancy dinner?
Right.
What would you have done?
That's a great question. For me personally, I lean towards the donation.
Okay.
But I recognize the complexities of the situation.
Yeah.
It's easy to make a decision in the abstract.
Right.
But real-life choices often involve balancing competing priorities, considering the needs of others, and sometimes making difficult sacrifices.
I feel that I'd like to think I'd make the moral choice.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm not sure I can say for certain without being in that exact situation.
And that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah.
It underscores the point that ethical decision-making isn't always clear-cut.
Right.
It's messy, it's emotional, and it often involves weighing competing values and making tough trade-offs.
It reminds us that we can't just program morality into machines.
Right.
We need to engage in these challenging conversations, wrestle with these complex dilemmas, and strive to be better humans ourselves.
I love that, and that's what makes these deep dives so valuable.
Yeah.
They're not just about gaining knowledge.
Right.
They're about sparking critical thinking, challenging assumptions, and encouraging us to be more thoughtful and engaged citizens in this rapidly changing world.
I agree. And with that in mind, are you ready to dive into the real world
Absolutely.
and explore some concrete examples of how AI is being used,
Yeah, let's explore the real-world impact of AI.
both for good and potentially for ill?
Right.
Because I have a feeling things are about to get even more intriguing. All right, so we've been talking about the limitations of AI, when it comes to ethics and the importance of human judgment and empathy.
Absolutely.
Now, let's kind of bring this down to earth a little bit.
Okay.
What are some real-world examples of how AI is being used, and what kind of ethical challenges do they present?
So one area where AI is making waves is in healthcare.
Okay.
We're seeing algorithms being used to diagnose diseases, recommend treatments, and even predict patient outcomes.
That's incredible.
Oh.
It seems like AI could revolutionize healthcare, make it more efficient and more effective.
It definitely has that potential.
But are there any downsides to this?
Yeah, there's certainly a potential there, but it also comes with this whole host of ethical considerations.
Like what?
For example, what happens when an AI system recommends a treatment that goes against a doctor's professional judgment?
Oh, wow.
Who ultimately bears the responsibility for that patient's well-being?
It's like a real-life version of the trolley problem.
Exactly.
With much higher stakes.
And much higher stakes. Yeah, and beyond that, there are concerns about data privacy and bias.
Right.
If AI systems are trained on data that's not fully representative of the population, the diverse population they're meant to serve it could perpetuate existing healthcare disparities.
Well, it's not just about building AI systems that can make accurate predictions.
Right.
But ensuring that those systems are fair and equitable and accountable.
Exactly.
Seems like a tall order.
It is, and this applies to every area where AI is being deployed, from criminal justice to education to financial lending. We need to be acutely aware of the potential consequences, both intended and unintended.
Speaking of unintended consequences, I've been hearing a lot about the potential for AI to create deepfakes.
Yeah.
You know, those incredibly realistic fake videos and audio recordings. What are your thoughts on that?
Deepfakes are a prime example of how AI can be misused,
Right.
for malicious purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the potential damage if someone fabricated a deepfake video of a world leader
Yeah.
saying something inflammatory or inciting violence.
Right.
It could erode public trust, sow discord, and even manipulate elections.
It's a chilling thought, and it highlights the growing need for media literacy
Absolutely.
and critical thinking skills in this age of AI.
Yes.
We can't just take everything we see and hear online at face value.
Right.
We need to verify information from multiple sources
Mm-hmm.
and always be aware of the potential for manipulation.
I completely agree. It's crucial to develop a healthy sense of skepticism
Yeah.
and the ability to discern real information from fabricated content. That's why education and awareness are so important.
Mm.
We need to equip people with the tools to navigate this complex digital landscape.
It feels like we need a whole new set of skills to navigate this AI-powered world.
I agree.
It's both exciting and daunting at the same time.
It is. We're at a pivotal moment in history.
Yeah.
We have this incredibly powerful technology at our fingertips,
Mhm.
but we need to learn how to use it wisely and ethically.
Right.
And that's why I believe education is paramount.
Yeah.
We need to start teaching children about AI from a young age,
Okay.
how it works, its potential benefits, and its potential pitfalls.
With great power comes great responsibility, right?
Couldn't agree more.
It feels like that saying has never been more relevant.
The future of AI isn't predetermined.
Mhm.
It's being shaped right now by the choices we make, the actions we take, and the conversations we have.
Right.
And this brings us back to the core message of our deep dive today.
Okay.
AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
The responsibility lies with us, the humans,
Yeah.
to ensure that it serves humanity and not the other way around.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How can we be responsible stewards of this technology?
Right.
You know, it can feel overwhelming to even think about tackling these huge systemic issues.
It's true that the challenges are complex, but it starts with awareness, as we've discussed. Educate yourself about AI, its potential and its limitations. Engage in meaningful conversations about ethics and technology.
Yeah.
Support organizations that are working to promote responsible AI development.
Okay.
You know your voice and your actions matter.
And what about in our own lives?
Mm-hmm.
Are there practical steps we can take to minimize the risks
Absolutely.
and ensure that AI is used ethically?
Be mindful of the data you share online.
Okay.
Be skeptical of what you see and hear, especially on social media.
Right.
Support companies that are transparent about their use of AI and advocate for regulations that protect our privacy and ensure fairness and accountability.
It sounds like we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
I think we do.
Even small actions can make a difference.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so important.
Yeah.
The future of AI is not, some preordained outcome.
Right.
It's being written right now with every choice we make,
Yeah.
every action we take, and every conversation we have.
So let's make it a future worth having.
Absolutely.
A future where AI empowers us, connects us, and helps us solve the world's biggest challenges while upholding our shared values.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah.
It's been a fascinating exploration, and I hope our listeners have found it as thought-provoking as we have.
I agree. This video about gaslighting, ChatGPT, may have seemed like a quirky starting point.
Yeah.
But it's opened up this Pandora's box of questions about the future of AI
Right.
and its impact on our lives.
Yeah.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
But I hope this conversation has encouraged our listeners to think critically about AI, to question assumptions,
Absolutely.
and to engage in these important conversations.
I second that the future of AI is ultimately in our hands.
Yeah.
Let's use this knowledge wisely and shape a future where technology serves humanity and helps us create a more just and equitable world.
And on that note, we'll leave you with a final thought.
Right.
We haven't directly addressed this today. Right. But it's something to ponder.
Yeah.
As AI continues to evolve. If AI becomes increasingly sophisticated,
Right.
capable of mimicking human emotion and even consciousness,
Yeah.
will our ethical obligations towards it change?
Wow.
Will we need to consider AI not just as a tool, but as something more?
That's a really profound question.
Yeah.
And one that we'll undoubtedly be grappling with for years to come.
Right.
It speaks to the very essence of what it means to be human
Yeah.
and how we define our relationship with technology.
It's a question that will likely raise more questions than answers.
Right.
But it's a conversation worth having.
Absolutely.
So keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning and keep those minds engaged. The future of AI is unfolding right now.
Right.
And it's up to all of us to shape it responsibly.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay curious and stay engaged.